Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with a beginner's guide to Total War Warhammer. With the Beastmen right around the corner, ambushes are about to become a lot more commonplace. A well-planned ambush can see a superior force brought to its knees through good planning, unit placement, timing, and the manipulation of enemy morale. When you spring an ambush, you have the advantage in two major ways. In the deployment phase, you can deploy anywhere on the battlefield, whereas the enemy is caught in a marching line, and you get to call the shots. It is very easy to lose both of those advantages though if you are indecisive. An ambush is all about being aggressive, so make sure your army is built in such a way. Ranged units and artillery are great for causing large amounts of damage from the very start of the battle. Make sure you deploy them in a way that allows them to cause the maximum amount of damage, so keep armor piercing and enemy unit density in mind. When the defending army is chaotically forming its lines, you can open fire at their clumps, and since you are able to pre-select the enemy units that are in range, you can cause damage to the units that threaten you the most right away. Again, ranged units and artillery are about the instant engagement. Start causing pain immediately. Prepare them to be charged by cavalry though. Keep them spread out so the enemy has to work and move around the field to eliminate all of your ranged units. Similar logic applies to any magic-wielding characters you might have. A well-placed foot of Gork on a swarm of ethereal units can turn the battle in your favor before the first arrows are loosed, for example. Same goes for Winds of Death and other magic that can take down a swath of enemy units at a time. Or, yes, you can even try and snipe the enemy general if that's how you'd like to play it. Then, there's the high mobility element of an ambush. Units like Warhounds, anything with very fast as a trait, shock cavalry, and even chariots can be immensely useful in the first moments of an ambush. Charging into the backs and flanks of units from the get-go does two things: drop enemy morale nice and early, and heighten the sense of anarchy. If the enemy is trying to get organized, but hit-and-run tactics and dogs from hell are keeping their forces preoccupied, you've created a golden opportunity for what is typically your front line. And this is when they join the party. Again, you've had the advantage of placement, and the enemy is chaotically fighting off your initial push. The attack should be swift and relentless, and ideally coming from the other side of the cavalry charges to give the extra morale damage from attacking from behind. Now as the engagement goes on, keep your standard tactics in mind. Hit-and-run tactics with shock cavalry, crushing the flanks and moving inwards, and using terror to shatter units nice and early. On the campaign map, with all the factions other than the soon-to-be-available Beastmen who always attack as ambushes, you have to get to an ideal location and put your army in the ambush stance to intercept enemy armies that are marching by. Recruitment and movement are not allowed in this stance, and there's always a chance of an ambush being scouted and foiled. Hovering over the terrain tells you the chance of this happening in any given region. For the highest likelihood of success, try to prepare an ambush at strategic choke points around the map that the enemy is likely to use to get to various regions important to their military campaigns. Remember, it costs 25% of your movement points to go into ambush stance, so keep an eye on how much it costs to move to your targeted destination. If you're not sure how to do that, watch the suggested video by clicking on the eye at the top right corner of the screen. With all that said, we should also consider how to defend against an ambush. As the defender, you're obviously on the back foot. You need to, as quickly as possible, turn that around. There are a few approaches to this, and each have their own risks and rewards. You can try to defend your central position, opening yourself up to attacks from all sides, but allowing you to secure your position almost immediately. Or, you can choose to push on to either side of the field. The former works especially well if your troops are largely shielded and have charged defense. You don't want to be caught off guard by a cavalry charge while you are in the middle of charging up one side of the ambush. When your troops aren't equipped in such a way, however, it's typically best to close the gap as quickly as possible. Engage enemy cavalry as soon as you can, even if it's just to slow them down and not kill them off, and try to rush their ranged units while forming your lines. This approach works great if the enemy has split their army up on either side of yours, especially if you can quickly take control of one side. With that said, make sure you keep units in reserve to respond to flanking maneuvers from the enemy. Meanwhile, if the enemy was entirely positioned on one side and you push in to engage immediately, you take away a lot of their range-based advantages and may force them out of carefully crafted positioning. Remember, the upper hand is entirely with the attacker when an ambush is sprung. If you're defending, you need to make a quick decision based on the information you have at your disposal, and you need to take away the enemy's advantage. Don't let them throw your troops into anarchy and a state of low morale. When you're the attacker, there's no reason to sit on the back foot. The sneaking has already been done, and it's resulted in full deployment range on the battlefield. You need to use this advantage to keep the enemy in that initial state of anarchy and toss them around the battlefield. Whether you're being ambushed or ambushing your enemy, you need to be swift, decisive, and devastating. Show the enemy that no place is safe when they're at war with you, and that's what being a great general is about. For more tips and tricks, subscribe to this channel, and if there's something you'd like to see covered, let me know in the comments below.